Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, hi, my name is Sydney. I film cruelty-free beauty videos, and today's video is going to be all about the Menagerie Cosmetics Pastel Pup palette. In this video, I'm going to give you guys my first impressions as well as a demo with me applying this to my eyes, with one with a regular colored base and one with a white base, so you guys can really see the difference between how the shadows perform on each base. We're also going to get into swatches, a little bit about my ordering experience, and kind of just my first impressions of this palette. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, just keep watching. Alright you guys, so I finally have this palette. I was so excited to get it in the mail today. I wanted to talk a little bit logistically about how my ordering process went with Menagerie. I've ordered from Menagerie Cosmetics before several times, so I kind of knew what to expect, but I was actually pleasantly surprised with this experience. I'm sorry if the shot looks a little bit different, guys. My camera battery died, so I had to replace it. I placed my order for this palette on March 21st. I got the shipping notification on April 1st, which was just about 10 days later, and then this palette took just under a week to get to me. Shipping wise, I was surprised by how quickly the processing time was on this one. I've ordered from Menagerie in the past, and I believe the first time that I ordered from them, I can't quite remember if it was a pre-sale or not. I ordered the Whale Song palette, and I felt like that took a very long time to get to me, like well over a month. And then same kind of deal when I ordered from them on Black Friday. I'm sure Black Friday was due to the high volume of sales that they were getting at that point, but I just wanted to note that they were really snappy and really on top of it with this one, so I wanted to praise them for that. I thought that was really awesome. I'm going to show you guys in my demo clip just how well packaged this palette was. It came in a lot of bubble wrap, none of the shadows arrived broken, and I really appreciate when brands take the time to really carefully pack their shadows, because there's nothing more devastating. Okay, that's dramatic, but it's definitely disappointing when you get a palette in the mail that you've really been looking forward to and you find that half the shadows are shattered when you get them. So as I said, I did film a demo, but before we hop into that, I thought I would share some really quick swatches of this palette. I am just going to do these with my fingers. I am planning on doing a full review video on this palette, and in that palette I may do brush swatches. If you guys want to see that, definitely leave me comments down below. Any kind of specific swatches or like shade comparisons with other palettes in my collection you guys want to see, leave them down below, and I will be happy to include all of that in my review video. I'm going to try to make that video a little bit more in-depth and thorough, but in this video I really just wanted to test the palette out, show you guys the color story, show you how the shades swatched and how they performed on the eyes. And so now let's jump into some swatches. Alright you guys, so I'm just swatching these on my bare skin. I don't have any primer down, my arm is completely dry, so let's just hop right in. So this first shade is called Belly Flop, and I'm just going to do one swipe swatches. I'm just going to stick my finger in one time and then swipe it on my arm. This next shade is called Cuddle. This shade is called Snack. This shade is called Fishy. This shade is called Sunbathe. This shade is called Flipper. This shade is called Iceworm. This shade is called Aquatic. This shade is called Ice Cap. This shade is called Snowball. This shade is called Saddleback. And finally the last shade is called Whiskers. So there are just some quick finger swatches of the palette. So before we hop into the demo, I did want to show you guys how the palette came packaged. It was of course in the box wrapped in a little bit of tissue paper, but there is a ton of bubble wrap around this palette, which I think is awesome because Menagerie tends to have a softer eyeshadow formula. So I'm going to open this up really quick, probably off camera because it's a little bit loud, but then we'll hop into the demo. I absolutely love the box. I think it is so stinking cute. I think the packaging on this palette was just so stinking cute in general. On the back it does list all the ingredients for each of the individual shades, and then here's the palette. This is my first time even seeing the palette. I mean, as you guys saw, it was all wrapped up in bubble wrap before I started filming. It is so stinking cute, you guys. I tend to be a little bit on the fence with Menagerie's cover work or cover art. I mean, I love animals personally, but I don't always love them on my makeup. But I think this one is so stinking cute. Open it up. Everything arrived intact. I can breathe a sigh of relief now. Wouldn't that be ironic if I like showed you it all super nicely bubble wrapped and then half the shadows are broken? Comes with a really nice mirror right there. Oh, I'm so excited. I don't think I have a palette that's kind of vertically oriented like this instead of the usual like sideways palette like this. So I can't decide if I love this or hate it. I think I might love it. I don't know. I'm so excited, you guys. I haven't even shown you the shades close up. So here are the beautiful shades that are in the palette. So at this point, I have not swatched this palette. I have not touched the shadows in any way. I think I just want to go straight in on my eyes before I do any swatching or any of that. For my demo, I have watched some reviews. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've heard that these perform best over a white base. So I thought that on one eye, I would use my ColourPop No Filter Concealer in the shade White. And then on the other eye, I would use my MAC Paint Pot. So we'll do one on one eye, one on the other eye, and we'll see how the shadows perform over them. So now we're nice and zoomed in, and I just thought I would apply my eyeshadow primer on camera with you with my MAC Paint Pot. I just usually take my sponge, dip it in there, just kind of pounce it over my lid. So I did want to give a little bit of a disclaimer while I was throwing on my primer. I'm not a pastel eyeshadow expert or master. I do have a couple of pastel eyeshadows in my collection. They mostly come from my Blush Tribe Blossom palette, and I do have a little bit of experience with those. But as I said, I am not a pastel expert, so if you guys are new to pastels and you're looking for kind of that perspective on the ease of use of this palette, you might be in the right place. Okay, so I'm not going to set either of my bases. I don't usually set my MAC Paint Pot, and I feel like when you're using pastel shadows, if you set the white base, it kind of defeats the purpose. I hope the lighting's a little bit better. I just moved my lights around a little bit. But I feel very torn as to what colors I should play with today. I feel like a lot of people in their first impressions have played with the blues and the greens so they can use that shimmery shade all over their lid. I am so excited to dip into this palette, you guys. I was literally laying in bed last night thinking like, my pastel shadows are going to be here tomorrow. I am so excited to play with them. So I need to stop babbling because I'm nervous that I won't like them or things will go bad. So as I said, we're going to start with the shade Sunbathe. I'm getting a little bit of kick up in the pan when I tap into that shadow. Nothing too bad. Menagerie shadows tend to be a little bit on the powdery side anyway, so I kind of just learned to expect that with them. And as I said, I do have a little bit of experience with pastels, so I know that it's better to kind of tap them in rather than like use buffing motions. So I'm just going to start tapping this in the very innermost portion of my crease. I feel like that looks pretty good. So that was on the MAC Paint Pot side. I'm sorry, I'll try to keep saying that so you guys can remember which side is which. But this is the MAC Paint Pot side and this is the white base side. This side does have a little bit of creasing, but I find that once I blend shadows over top of it, I really don't have an issue with it anymore. So we're just going to start patting it over. I want to say that the first layer on each side was looking pretty darn similar, but I feel like yellow is not that far out of the realm of neutrals, so maybe this one's not the best judge of that. I feel like the second layer, you can kind of tell that on the white base side, it just looks a little bit more saturated. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that, you guys. I really like using this brush to kind of pack pastels into my crease, so I'm just gonna grab my color switch and probably just use this in between shades. I do like how they kind of kept these in not rainbow order, but in an order that like you could just kind of go down the road and blend these shades into each other and it would make a really beautiful gradient. So next I'm going to go in to the shade Flipper right here. I just love the names of these shades. They are just too cute. Again, that one I feel like there's a little bit of kick up in the pan, but not really what I'm used to with Menagerie shadows. I feel like they're a little bit less powdery. And I'm just going to start pressing that one almost in the center of my lid. I guess we're starting on the white base side this time. And I'm just kind of gently overlapping it with the white. I'm not really swiping back and forth. I'm just using gentle back and forth tapping motions. Oh my gosh, I love how bright and fresh that green is. Oh my goodness. That is just beautiful. So that was one layer on that side. So let's go in on the MAC Paint Pot side. This one, I feel like immediately off the bat, I can definitely tell that this side is much less vibrant than the white base side. So now I'm going to go in with a second layer on the Paint Pot side. I will say that these shadows are building very nicely. Okay, I feel like even with the second layer on the Paint Pot side, it's still not quite as vibrant as the one layer on the white base side. So I'm going to go with the second layer on the white base side. Oh, see, that is just so beautiful. Okay, next we're going to go into the shade Ice Worm right here. And I'm going to focus this shade kind of just right almost in my outer corner, but not quite. I'm going to run out of crease space for these matte shadows. That's really pretty. I feel like the distinctions between Ice Worm and Flipper, the other green shade that we applied just a second ago, are pretty subtle. but they're beautiful. And I feel like it creates a really nice kind of flow into that green. Just applying it to the MAC Paint Pot side. I feel like this shade, they kind of look the same on both sides. I feel like you can see the shade a little bit more on this side because I accidentally blended it down a little more than I was kind of planning to. But I feel like the vibrancy with that shade is very similar on both sides. And then next, I'm just going to take a little bit of Aquatic on the same brush. Starting out with the white base side. Oh, that shade is just beautiful. And then onto the Paint Pot side. I feel like it's also very apparent with the blue that it definitely performs way better on the white base versus the Paint Pot side. And then I just want to take a little bit of Ice Cap just on that same brush. I did wipe it off. And pack it just a little bit more on my lid and my outer corner rather than like my outer crease. So I made the mistake on this eye of kind of like swiping the shadow on rather than pressing it on. And I feel like you can definitely tell, I pressed it more directly on this eye than this eye. You can definitely tell that I got more of an even color application on this eye versus this eye. So I'm going to take just a tad more on the white base side and just kind of tap it in. Oh yeah, that works much better. I feel like I'm getting just a little bit of patchiness in my outer corner right there. Sometimes my eyes do this and like the outer corners of my eyes don't want to blend shadow. So this might not be the shadow's fault. That's definitely something that I really need to be cognizant of when I use this shadow and talk about it again in my review. But that's just something that I'm noticing with this first application. Alright guys, so I scooched myself in just a little bit closer. I wanted to give you guys a close-up of the difference between the MAC Paint Pot side and then the white base side, just to look at the vibrancy so you can see for yourselves that one is definitely a little bit more vibrant than the other. I think the differences are more subtle than I thought they would be. Like I felt like the blues applied pretty much the same on both eyes, but I really noticed it with that first yellow and the first green shade that we used. So now I do want to take the shade Snowball right here and put it on my lid. I think that I am going to apply glitter glue. I always wear glitter glue with shimmer shades over my lid just because I have hooded eyelids, and if I don't, I get a lot of transfer up into my crease. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my NYX glitter glue just on a shader brush and just press it onto my eyelid. So we're going to dip into the shade Snowball right here, which is a beautiful metallic blue. And I'm just going in with that same brush that we applied the glitter glue with, and I'm just going to start pressing this on my lid. Usually I find that Menagerie's shimmer shadows are a little bit thicker, and I feel like I almost have to smooth them out over my lid. I feel like this one was definitely on the thinner side. Of course, I haven't swatched it and touched it with my finger, so I may say differently once I feel the texture. And there we go. That's a really, really pretty shade. I'm just going to apply a little bit of glitter glue to the other eye and do exactly the same thing. Holy fallout, Batman. Okay, so this is partially my error, but on this eye, I picked up a lot more product on my brush. I kind of dug into the shadow a little bit more than maybe I should have, but there's quite a bit of fallout up there. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm just going to try to like smush it back into the shadow because that's a lot of product going to waste. But you guys, I think that completes the upper portion of my eyes. I'm going to hop off camera, do my face makeup, and then we'll come back for the lower lash line. Alright guys, two things that I noticed while I was doing the rest of my face. One, I had enchilada sauce all over my mouth because I ate before I filmed this video so I wouldn't get hangry halfway through. So just please ignore that. And two, I noticed that I am getting a lot of transfer on this eye. This is the eye that I did go in with what I feel like is a little bit too much shadow. But usually when I use my NYX glitter primer, I don't have that kind of issue. But I did just want to note that for anyone who does experience kind of that transfer on a regular basis. So I'm just going to take a big fluffy brush. This one is a Bare, and just try to very lightly get rid of that shimmer. And it's not going anywhere. Okay. So that is a stubborn little shimmer shade that I guess is just gonna stay there for now. So now let's dip into our Pastel Pup palette once again. So I'm gonna take this little brush. I think this is from Crown Brushes, but it's very similar to like the Wet n Wild crease brush. It's just a little like short, stumpy, slightly chubby shader brush. I love it for my lower lash line. And I'm gonna start out with the shade Ice Cap right here. And I'm just gonna start smudging this on my lower lash line. I'm just gonna keep it primarily on the outer corner. I guess I should be packing, not smudging. That might work better. So I'd say that's about 2 layers each on my lower lash line. I feel like that built up pretty well. And then once again, I'm just going to continue to use the same brush across my lower lash line and just clean it off between shadows. So I think I want to take the shade Belly Slide next. I really want to pair these ones next to each other. I feel like that one was a little bit softer. That one has a little bit more kick up in the pan. But I feel like these shades look pretty similar in the pan, so I want to see what they look like right next to each other on the eyes. So I'm just going to press this against the middle portion of my lower lash line. These are very, very similar. I feel like Belly Slide is just a little bit more purple. I think they're both beautiful shades, and again, they really help you get that very seamless blend, but they are pretty darn similar. Okay, so I'm a little bit nervous to do this next step because I know you're not supposed to blend pastels too much, but I think it would be really pretty if we took the shade Cuddle on just like a little detail brush. This one is from Beaut Cosmetics, the number 7 brush from the Rose Quartz collection, and just like ran it under those 2 shades. I think that could create a really pretty gradient. So that's what I'm gonna try to do. I mean, I know I'm using this shade very softly, but I feel like it's also just very sheer. I think it's pretty though. So for my inner corner, I thought it might be fun to dip back into Snowball, but this time just use it completely dry. I'm just going to pat this in my inner corner a little bit. I mean, I feel like it looks slightly sheerer than when I applied it on my lid, but nothing too drastic. Alright, you guys, and then for my brow bone, I'm just going to dip into the white shade. I really feel like the blue would just be way too dark and look super strange on me. So I'm just going to dip into that with kind of a fluffy, floppy shader brush. That shade had quite a bit of kick up when I stuck my brush in the pan. That's the usual Menagerie formula that I anticipated being in this palette. And I'm just going to kind of softly run that under my brow bone. Alright, you guys, here we are at the final super close-up before I put on mascara and kind of wrap this video up. Here is the side with just the MAC paint pot. Here's the side with the unset white base. What do you guys think? Do you think one looks noticeably brighter than the other one? I felt like with some shades the difference was very noticeable and very apparent, but not with every single shade. So I definitely need to test out these shadows over different bases some more. So I just wanted to hop back on camera really quick to show you guys what these shadows look like on my eyes in natural light. I thought maybe it'd provide more of a realistic perspective than maybe my studio lights were, and I just wanted to show you this in case my studio lights are washing anything out. Again, this is the MAC Paint Pot eye, and this is the white base eye. I don't know, you guys, I feel like I still don't see that big of a difference between the 2 bases. I didn't really have any issues with these shadows blending or applying weird on either base, except for my outer corner, but I feel like maybe that was just my eyes, not the eyeshadows themselves. But I wanted to include this just so you guys could have another point of reference. Alright guys, so here is the completed look that I came up with. It's very soft, it's very pastel, it's the essence of pastel palettes. I think it's pretty. I really didn't have any major issues with the palette right off the bat. I'm not super happy that that shadow did transfer up into my crease. It's like a pet peeve of mine. That's why I applied the glitter glue, to try to avoid that, but that again could have been my fault. I might have applied it too much shadow. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. As I said in little bits of my demo, I am planning on doing a full review on this video. In that video, I plan to compare it to other pastel shadows I have in my collection, including the new Terra Moon's Pastel Singles bundle that was supposed to arrive today, but at the time that I'm filming this, it has not arrived yet. So if it does arrive and I can squeeze it in this video, I will, but if not, it'll definitely be in my review along with comparisons to Menagerie's other palettes that I own and some other palettes that may have some similar shades in my collection. In that video, I also want to do kind of like brush swatches and swatches over primer, stuff like that, so you guys can see really how these shadows will perform along with those 3 looks that I mentioned. So I hope that this video was helpful. Let me know down in the comments below whether or not you guys picked up this palette. If you did, what are your thoughts on it? I'm so excited to hear from all of you and see all of your beautiful looks. But that's gonna wrap it up for me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. If you enjoy indie makeup or shop my stash or project pan series, that's what I do a lot of on my channel. But that's gonna wrap up today, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye! This concealer is going on horribly patchy. I wonder if it's the sponge. I'll deal with that after filming today, I guess. Why am I cropped? Whatever, we'll just roll with it. Oh. Oh no, I got too much shadow. Okay. Is it better if I hold it back here? Until I press it into my eyeball. Ow.